Everybody will go ahead and call the meeting to order. College Council meeting of May 23rd, 2012. Let's see if we can go ahead and do introductions. Dale, you want to start over there, please?
Management Association.
Crystal Forest Management Association.
Simon Fraser, Associated Students.
Monjin Chow, Associated Students.
Chris Fennessy, sitting in for Alexander Soto, Associated Students.
Bob Bell, Instruction Student Services.
Edward Martinez from the Academic Senate.
Bob Miller, Educational Services.
Roger Marheim, the Faculty Association.
Dustin Hamby, Academic Senate.
Mark Boudia, Academic Senate, sitting in for Dan Haley.
Twelly McGrath, Confidentials.
Dave Krause, Classified Senate, Union Rep, excuse me, CSCA.
Gary Potts, Classified Senate President.
Julio Huerta, Classified Senate.
Thank you. Okay, we have the minutes of the April 25th meeting. Do I hear a motion?
I call.
I'll second.
So moved by Gary, second by Dave. Any discussion?
Just a correction. On the second page, under both policies 4020 and 4060, you have D. Martinez. I don't know who D is. It should be E.
Okay, any other items? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Public comment. Is there any member of the public who cares to speak to the council? Here for the Courier? Okay. Okay. Do you care to make a comment, or are you just identifying who you are? Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Ethics check-in, Classified Senate.
To maintain the productive association and enable the Classified Senate to pursue its objectives by means consistent with the interests of the students, classified staff, faculty, administrators of Pasadena City College. That was our third item on our in order to accomplish that, we have general meetings of the Classified Senate every other Wednesday, the first and third Wednesdays of the month, where we discuss in an open meeting all kinds of issues, from items of students to staff, faculty, and issues with things happening on campus.
Very good, thank you. With the permission of the group, I'd like to modify the order of the agenda, and I'd like to move item 7 up, alignment, for discussion of possible action. Is that acceptable to the board? I think that's the topic that people are most concerned about at the moment, and I want to make sure that based on people's schedules that everybody has an ample opportunity to discuss the topic. I think that all of you were able to pick up some handouts, and there was a last-minute tweak to the College Council interim plan version that we're going to talk about, so I'm going to go ahead and pass that out now. Yeah, you got one. Thank you.
Excuse me, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
What color is that? The blue or the green, or is it totally
it's going to be green, and I'm going to walk everybody through it. As soon as they go around the table there. There are 3 plans, if you will. The one that is blue is the plan that the College Council Planning and Priority Standing Committee approved. And we'll come back and we'll talk about these in a second. The plan that is both gray and red is the document that the Academic Senate has both partially approved with two columns, if you will, column 3 and column 4, that are pending, and I'll let the Academic Senate people speak to that when we get to discussion. And then the item that is going around now, the green sheet, is the document that that we would like the College Council to consider after we get to the point of walking people through the blue and the red, if you will, red and gray. Okay. So does everybody, as soon as everybody has that, I'll go ahead and make some introductory comments, and then President Martinez of the Academic Senate and others will have some comments as we go forward here. Okay, so let me briefly report that the College Council Planning and Priority Standing Committee met on April 30th, and they basically took the report of the two task teams. They listened to public comment from a variety of sources, both in person, in terms of meetings that we had in Kreveling, from faculty, from division deans, from classified staff. We also partook of a great deal of email traffic and other comments and other written information that came to the Planning and Priorities Committee. They then began to deliberate, and as a result of that, you'll see, starting on the left-hand side of the page, decisions that were made by that group. The column that says on the left, continue with permanent deans, by a vote of 9 yes, 1 no, and 4 abstentions, that column was approved. The next column over, continue with interim deans for math and visual arts and media studies, that was approved by a vote of 12 yes, 0 no, and 1 abstention. After a great deal of discussion regarding business and E&T, it was recommended by this group that business and E&T remain separate divisions, that there would be a dean for each division, and that there would also be a director of CTE and workforce development added to the organization. That vote was 7 yes, 6 no, and 2 abstentions. And as I recall, the chair of the committee had to break the tie. Is that correct on that, Ed? Am I remembering differently?
Oh, it was on the CEC.
It was on the CEC, excuse me. So it was 7 yes, 6 no, and 2 abstentions. And you'll see what the group determined was what business would be comprised of and what E&T would be comprised of. And I'll say that by way of skipping over to the column that's on the far right-hand side under Realign Programs. And you'll notice that there is recommendation by this group to relocate the architecture program to the Visual Arts and Media Studies Division by a vote of 9 yes, 3 no, and 3 abstentions. To relocate fashion from business to VAMS, 10 yes, 2 no, 3 abstentions. To relocate computer science to math, 15 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions. And then to relocate the Division of Kinesiology, Health, and Athletics to the Natural Sciences Division with a vote of 14 yes, 0 no, and 1 abstention. The process from the College Council Planning and Priorities Standing Committee was to send their recommendations in 2 separate directions. One was to the Academic Senate for consideration, and the other was to the College Council for consideration, which is why we've just gone over this chart. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to President Martinez, President of the Academic Senate, and ask him to go through their chart. And I want to make one correction here. Unfortunately, the top header got cut off a little bit. Partially approved by Academic Senate on May 14th of 2012. The next, and the pendings are going to be considered at their next meeting, which I believe is June 4th.
June 4th, right.
June 4th, and that header just got cut off in the printing process somehow.
Before we move on to the red one, can we just clarify what the vote under the third column on the
on the CEC? Did I miss the CEC? I should have gone back to that.
well, besides CEC, under Dean of E&T, it says graphic communications, and there's a series of votes. Can we just clarify that that's because graphic communications was slated to move?
Thank you, Simon. Yes, and thank you for reminding me. Yes, under the Dean of E&T, graphic communications was slated to be relocated to VAMS. And after a great deal of discussion, it was determined that the vote was 0 yes, 15 no, and 0 abstentions. And also, thank you, Simon, I did skip over the CEC. And with the CEC, there was a vote to maintain a full dean, 6 yes, 4 no, 5 abstentions. And then reporting to educational services, 5 yes, 4 no, and 5 abstentions. And then you can see what comprises the CEC. So thank you, Simon, for that. So now I'll turn it over to President Martinez, and he can speak to the
Okay.
next.
Well, on May the 14th, the Academic Senate met in its regular meeting and voted on the interim plan that came to us from Planning and Priorities. So this pink or red chart reflects the Senate's actions. So let me just review this with you also. The very first column was approved. That's the one that says continue with permanent deans. You can see the listing of the various divisions there. And the votes are the votes taken in the Academic Senate. So in this case, it was 14 yes, 0 no, and 4 abstentions. The second column was reworded, as you can see, to say continue with permanent deans for math and VAMS. And the votes were 18 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions. I'll come back to the middle portion in just a moment. Skipping over to CEC, that was approved with the wording Dean reporting to the VP of Educational Services until June the 30th, 2013, then reporting to the VP of Instruction. Approved, and I believe it's 9 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions.
19, actually.
Okay.
19.
19, okay, sorry. All right, and then the last one, there were votes taken on those various moves that were just described. So architecture to VAMS, sorry, I can't see that very well, but I think it's 17 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention. Fashion to VAMS, sorry, my vision is not very good. What is that?
I can read that. 17 yes.
Okay.
Fashion to VAMS, 18 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions.
Thank you. Computer science to math, 18 yes, I believe, 0 no, 0 abstentions. And kinesiology to natural sciences, 17 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention. But going back to the two middle columns, on basically business and engineering and technology, there was extensive discussion about those two divisions and how they should report to the administration. But you can see at the very top it says pending. So we decided basically to not take a vote on those two divisions, to engage in further discussion at our next meeting, and to hear what your recommendation is on those items, and then the Academic Senate vote will weigh in on at our next meeting. Anything that the other Senate reps would like to add? Yeah, and also that there would be a CTE dean and a director of workforce development, sort of in mid-level management between those divisions and the VP of Instruction.
And I think the concept there was to assist. I'm sorry.
Yes.
There was also some discussion of CIS and where CIS should report to. And that was another issue that we hadn't really decided at that particular meeting and will be discussed further at a future meeting.
Right.
We have, CIS and CS people here. Would you like to address any of this today?
Actually,
Early, we did receive your email about your recommendation. I don't know if you would like to address it. Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if, one second, if I may, the first two items are informational to to the document that the College Council would be discussing right now within the context of this. So if we could turn our attention to the proposal that's labeled Interim Plan College Council Proposal, then I think that Early's comments would relate to that. I know Simon and Chris and others want to speak, so let's do that.
Well, I actually just have a really quick question for Dustin, and I guess Ed as well. Since you mentioned the discussion, was that the discussion whether CIS should move to CTE? Because we don't have a CTE division. So what was the sort of the brief substance of that discussion at the Academic Senate?
I think that there wasn't the idea of having CIS report directly to some type of CTE dean was discussed, but you're right, there is that deanship is open at the present time. So we didn't get into a lot of details about the nature of that relationship or the nature of those reporting lines.
So it was just whether it should move some way.
Well, I think that we'll clarify that as we get into it, and we will hear from CIS what they need in terms of
I just wanted to hear what the Academic
from the
Senate
CTE
said.
office. Yeah.
So,
the original alignment proposal, CIS was scheduled to move to CTE then.
right.
Proposed on the very first.
Let me take Dave's question and Chris's question, and then I just want to come back to this chart and go through this, and then I think if we basically have our discussion around this document, it'll help to organize where we're going and how we might get there. So I think Dave was first, and then Chris.
Yeah, I noticed that both of these are different. Did the Academic Senate change some of the wording as to in relation like the permanent deans and this other one has interim deans? Are you suggesting that the interim deans become permanent?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the second column you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we voted to change the wording from interim to permanent.
Yeah, and remember, the process was the Planning and Priorities Committee does its work and then reports out to the Academic Senate and the College Council. And what this represents is the Academic Senate's current thinking relative to the recommendation that was provided to them. And there's still pending discussion at the June 4th meeting.
So it reflects our recommendation.
Right.
Yeah, because I know the one that was just handed out is a lot different than either one of them.
Well, actually, it's not. So if I think Chris, and then I'll speak to this a little bit, if I may.
Just a question on the idea of the CTE dean that I see on here. Was that how did that proposal come about? Like, was that proposed by a member of the Academic Senate? Like, where did that come from? Because that wasn't on the planning priorities.
I think it's really just an attempt. If you go back to the blue version, you can see that middle column says business E&T remain separate divisions,
Right.
and then it mentions
Dean
for each division,
Remembers
director of
the
CTE
director.
and workforce development. So this is simply an attempt to move those around, provide a bit more clarity for that. But we are not defining the work of the CTE dean or clarifying the lines of reporting.
So I guess my question is, because in our blue one, at the planning priorities blue one, which I sit on, it had the director of CTE, Workforce Development, but we did not have the dean for it. I was wondering how that entered into the Academic Senate conversation.
Through,
CTE dean.
through faculty from CEC
Okay.
who wanted a dean for their program and
Oh.
their planning, yes.
I see. Your question is, how do we go from a director to a dean?
Yeah.
Right. Simply the position of dean is more appropriate for that field.
And we had an associate dean of CTE who retired, and that position's been vacant now for, I guess, a year, about a year. So let me just take one more minute and focus everybody's attention on the green document, what we're currently labeled Interim Plan College Council Proposal. Again, starting on the left-hand side, what we've effectively done for your consideration is we've merged the two columns that were an interim plan of planning and priorities of continuing with permanent deans for the divisions, continuing with interim deans in that version. And then in the Academic Senate version, we merged those first columns into effectively one column, continue with deans and divisions. And we just put them all together. So that clarified that. We we're codifying or suggesting that business and E&T remain separate divisions reporting to the Vice President of Instruction, and those divisions be constituted as they are set forth there. We are suggesting, and playing off of what the Academic Senate is suggesting as well, that there be a CTE dean position and a director of CTE and workforce development. These are management positions that would serve all CTE programs across the campus. And as many of you know, we've got CTE programs in probably 8 or more of our divisions in one form or another. So that these 2 positions would be positions that report to Dr. Bell, and Dr. Bell would have those 3 positions to manage CTE for the campus. 3 positions, including himself, obviously. The CEC, there was no changes there, reporting to the VP of Ed Services for 1 year, and that's because of the workload that the Vice President of Instruction currently has as both the Vice President of Instruction and the Vice President of Student Services. And then there was no change in the realigned departments and divisions. So effectively what you have here is a summary document that is very much in alignment with the with Academic Senate recommendations, and significantly in alignment with the plan that came from Planning and Priorities. So if we can focus the discussion on the green document, that's the one that we're really aiming to talk about right now. So let me open the floor to that. If you'd like to speak. Can you do me a favor? Because of the microphone, because we're videotaping, would you mind going up to the podium? Thank you. Thanks, Daryl.
Hello. So I'm not clear on the representation for the business division and the E&T division. Okay, in the earlier iterations, they had, with interim deans for that, they seem to have been dispensed with. And so exactly what's that structure reporting, and how was that arrived at?
Well, I'll speak to this to start, and then Dr. Bell, maybe you might want to comment about this. The concept is that there would be 3 managers to work with those divisions and other CTE programs, and that through whatever process that Dr. Bell wants, as far as other assistance, that would be worked out. I don't want to speak for Dr. Bell, but.
Well, and Daryl, if I may, to speak directly, there you are. Speak directly to your question. For business and E&T, the decision discussion was to continue to have those divisions report directly to the Vice President of Instruction, in this case my office. The view was that, and I'm going to shift over to the middle column, for CTE, there was a strong emphasis, at least in my opinion, to go forward to look to bring a CTE dean on board and the Director of Workforce Development. I say that because the college has lost a great deal of traction in the business community with respect to our relationship with them. Also speaking to what I heard mentioned earlier, the fact that that position is going to bring greater advocacy and support for all of our CTE departments and the faculty in those departments. So that was the recommendation for that, and my advocacy would be to go with that center column. For business and E&T, I think everybody recognizes this is an interim capacity we've been in the interim capacity for the current year. I will speak for my own individual position. I think if we talk to bring a CTE dean on board and then 2 more permanent deans for business and for E&T, and it's not that I have any real concern with those being dean's positions. I do have a concern with the cost of mounting those positions in the current budget situation. And so I don't know if I really answered your question, but that really was the rationale, at least from my perspective, in the Office of Vice President of Instruction for the current model.
So is there any more?
Go ahead, Roger. Thank you.
Well, I have a question, and I don't know anyone can answer it. With the business division listing about 7 or 8 disciplines, roughly how many full-time and how many part-time faculty are we talking about? 29 and 45. And with E&T, do we have some sense of numbers of full and part-time faculty? About full and part-time.
How many?
You know, I hate to say it, but it seems like the obvious, and with all due respect, Bob is the best at handling enormous responsibilities, but these look an awfully, like me, they look like divisions that should have deans. But I also want this to be faculty-driven, and I don't know what the individuals in the room would prefer.
I'm Shelley Gaskin, I'm with the Business Division. I just want to say that I speak for the business faculty, that we feel a little uneasy not having a dean. We feel a little bit like we're different somehow than our colleagues on the campus. And you're right, Roger, we have a major division that's very popular with students.
Simon.
So, my first question, I guess, is what's happening with the Vice President of Instruction position? I'm assuming that you can't handle 2 jobs forever. What will happen with your temporary?
Well, in the current configuration, I'm actually doing 4 jobs. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Currently, I'm Vice President of Student Learning Services, Vice President of Instruction, Interim Dean for Business, and Interim Dean for E&T. So I'm running both of those positions. To Roger's point, to the point of the faculty, and I will say this is not really so much of a self-evaluation for the role I've done since I've gone into the Vice President for Instruction. The faculty in the 2 divisions where I serve, the interim deans have not been served well. And that's not so much a statement of me or really anything, it's just the fact that I don't think any one individual can do an effective job in those 4 positions. And the importance of having leadership on the ground for those divisions is critical. So, to your question, what's going to happen with the vice presidency? At this point, I've been asked to remain in both vice presidencies, so I'm going to continue to do both of those. I feel comfortable doing that. The addressment of my responsibility as interim dean for 2 divisions clearly needs to be addressed. I just don't think, and again, it's not so much self-serving for me, Simon, it's just a realization. I don't think anyone can do an effective job. And again, I don't think the faculty or the students in any one of those 2 divisions are being effectively served.
And I completely agree with you, and that's why I believe that we said in planning and priorities, and we had a very intense discussion at a shared governance level about this. I mean, I'm even wondering why we're having such a thorough discussion at the College Council level when obviously anything we do is going to go back to the Academic Senate, who obviously has their own mind. I don't like the idea of business and E&T not having a leadership position. I think they absolutely do need to have a dean if they're going to be that big. Until we've started to look at the newer models, which Planning and Priorities is in the process of doing for learning, so for faculty learning communities and for faculty cohorts, I think that it's essential that we at least have some kind of separate leadership other than one person that is doing far too much as it stands. And I don't understand what the rationale is behind having them going straight directly to the VP for instruction, and who would be the point person for that.
Ed?
Well, if we could hear a little bit more about the role and the nature of the CTE Dean and the Director of Workforce Development and how those 2 entities will interact with the divisions. Could you comment on that, Dr. Bell?
Yeah, well, the CTE Dean, again, would have general oversight over all the areas in which there were career technical education and vocational programs. So the CTE Dean, and that's very difficult for me to say, would also have some oversight, some managerial oversight, and, if you will, some intermediary responsibility for working with the faculty in business and E&T between those faculty needs on the ground, if you will, and to my office. So some of this would roll up to the responsibility of the CTE Dean to do as well.
So are we effectively then creating a CTE division with 2 subdivisions?
Before we answer that question, and Dr. Bell, would that same concept apply to the director position as well? That both of these positions could in fact be assisting you in if you will, facilitating the needs of the business division and the E&T division, as well as other CT programs on campus?
I see both of those positions being able to work much more closely with the faculty, be much more responsive to the needs of faculty on an ongoing basis, far more so than the vice president's instruction could be. And so in answer to your question, yes.
And of course, part of the reasoning why this is the way it is right now is because of our either 10.4 million or an 8.4 million, depending if you include the 2 million from last year in the equation, because of our budget situation. As I think, as you mentioned, we're trying to see what we can do budgetarily. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think anything we look at doing, we have to do it in the realization that we are dealing with a significant budget deficit for next year, which will again be anywhere from about $8.5 million.
And then as
for the fiscal year.
And as Simon mentioned, and I'd like Dustin at some point to speak to what the academic center is going to be doing as we move forward on the next level. But I think Simon had a question, then Ann had a question, Roger, and then Dave.
You know what? I think I'll yield to other people because I have a lot to say, and I want other people to have a chance. So,
then I think we'll go to Ann, if I may, please.
I am just speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for the division, but I'm a little confused. I see all these layers being created. I think I agree with all the comments that were made about our divisions. I can speak for E&T that have been without leadership. I'm not to criticize Dr. Bell, but he has a lot on his plate, and I feel like we're creating these other layers with the CTE dean, and we're creating this director. Okay, I can understand the restrictions because of the money, but then we're going to go out and create these other positions, which is a CTE dean and the director, which is also going to cost a significant amount, and I'm not exactly sure how they're going to fit in between us and the VP of instruction. If we're going to be I see on the paper it says that we're going to be reporting to the VP of instruction, but then you've got this layer of the CTE director plus a dean. So I'm a little confused as to how that's going to kind of work. And I'm a little concerned because I think that we, not having a sitting dean in the office has been a hardship. And I think that needs to be looked at a little further. And as I said, these are my own comments. I'm not speaking for the division. Thank you.
I think, was it Dave and then Roger?
Well, my question was, are these two, the CTE dean and director, are these two new management positions?
Well, the CTE dean is a replacement of an existing management position that's on the books right now. The director position would be a new management position.
Well, my understanding, why would we have both? Why would we have a dean and a director?
Because
doing the same job, basically, it seems like.
Well, they're not, because of the scope of the responsibilities for the CTE area of this institution and the Workforce Investment Board activities, the labor market study activities, the working with industry activities, the program review activities, institutional effectiveness. I mean, there's just a great deal of work that needs to be done in support of our CTE programs on this campus.
Well, will the dean be reporting to the director, or director reporting to the dean, or are they both separate?
Both these positions will be reporting to Dr. Bell if they come about. Roger.
I'd like to move, and just for discussion's sake, that we move business division to column 1 with a permanent dean. We move E&T division to column 1 with a permanent dean, and we combine the CTE dean with the director of CTA and workforce development. It's a 3-part motion.
Discussion? Simon.
Dustin.
Dustin.
You wanted me to talk about what the Senate's doing for next year. Am I correct?
I am correct,
Okay.
but I don't know if we can do that now that we're talking about it.
Okay.
Exactly. We've got to deal with the motion first.
Okay. I'll hold back.
Okay. Unless the person who did the first and the second would allow that.
I'm open to any discussion.
Well, Roger just said that he's willing to defer that until Dustin
We'll
speaks.
still talk about the motion.
Yeah,
right?
he just wants to allow the discussion to take place.
The Academic Senate has already begun work to continue the work of the Planning and Priorities Committee for the long-term aspects of this, and I think that it's important for us to think about this as an interim plan for next year. This is not anything long-term. And Valerie Foster is in charge of that committee, and she's already getting her committee together to think about what the long-term aspects of these visions will be. And so I don't know if that's exactly what you wanted me to speak to, but a lot of these decisions about where these things will be reporting long-term will be made over the next year.
Right. So I think the message here is that this is an interim plan, probably for no longer than a year if it all works out correctly.
If I may, I have an English Division T to give 2 scholarships away, one of which is in my grandparents' honor. So with all due respect to the committee, I'm going to be going upstairs to the English Division T, and A.C. Pinello, who's the new Vice President of the Academic Senate, is going to take my seat.
Thank you, Dustin. Thank you, Pinello.
If I could,
Yes.
What does the Academic Senate mean when it says it's going to take over the long-term goals of a shared governance committee?
The shared government, I think that Dustin will need to clarify some of
Well,
that,
that's
but
unfortunate.
some of those items will come under the purview of the shared governance committee as to how we might recommend the long-term alignment,
Right,
realignment.
and I would like to ask that this come back as a separate item.
Yeah.
Because I think that needs discussion.
Absolutely. And to clarify, basically, I think what Dustin was really trying to say is that the Academic Senate is going to be contributing to that process, but it still stays under the purview of the Planning and Priorities Committee and the College Council.
Okay, because it did sound like the Academic Senate planned to just simply subsume that responsibility, when I believe it is actually a shared issue, given that it directly involves students, it directly involves managers, and it directly involves classified as much as, and in some cases, if not more than, the faculty on campus.
I think there's strong agreement with that perspective.
Not quite, but go ahead.
Okay. What we're involved here is in this notion of academic and professional matters and what falls under the purview of the Academic Senate and what falls under the broader context of shared governance. So actually, I stand corrected. I overspoke. And it is a discussion that we have to continue to have.
And when we have the discussion, I would actually like to have potentially a legal opinion on it from General Counsel.
Noted. Thank you.
Can I speak to the motion
Yes,
now?
please.
I'm going to disagree, Roger, with respect. I don't think we've heard enough about the CTE Dean and the Director of CTE and Workforce Development to be able to make a decision on that right now. But I also do not think that it is suitable for them to exist in an interim plan, given that we don't know what the alignment will look like future on. I can see both of these positions working incredibly well with the cohorts that Joy Britton and many of us are now familiar with, because I think that kind of overarching responsibility for CTE would suit well for a structure where cohorts of different kinds of faculty communities are picking their own deans, as it were. And so I think it would fit really well there. Do I necessarily think that it works under our current model? I don't quite agree, unless we were to make some actual structural changes, which I don't think are part of an interim plan. So I'm not saying that I want these, but I would oppose the motion on that basis, and I think we still need to have discussion about that third column before we can make a decision.
Daryl, thank you.
To my vision and knowledge, it seems as though the business division as well as E&T are on par with any on your first column to your left. Okay, I'm not quite clear, and I don't think our people here are clear of what that decision was to reduce those two particular areas to that, what is it, director kind of level? I think that's what you're saying. They have been instruction divisions for many years here. There are many people going through those programs. It's identified as one of the key programs for many of the first year and foreign students coming through the program as far as the business division goes. That's been, in meeting with other divisions, it's been very important. That's one of the key attractive divisions of students coming to Pasadena City College. So to reduce that to a director level responsibility, and I think as far as presentation and representation within the larger college environment, they would merit a dean position for those.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten clarity I think there was a dollar amount Dr. Bell spoke about as far as some kind of cost reduction. So that's why we're reducing those to those positions? Because
Well,
of a dollar?
let me just respond quickly. The business and E&T remain separate divisions reporting to the VPI. So the divisions stay as they are. There's nothing implied there or stated there that says business and E&T would report to the CTE dean or the director of CTE and workforce development, or both. They would just, under this interim plan, would continue to report to the VPI. The VPI then would use whatever resources that he felt were necessary to help to keep those two divisions functioning. That's what this implies.
I would like to raise a question about the need for revitalization of the certificate programs and or the degree programs in business and or E&T. Are we correct in assuming that there is indeed some need to reorganize those programs and that therefore you need a CTE dean and a workforce development director to assist you with, assist the faculty members with the layers of work that are involved there? Shelley?
In our division, we have both CTE programs and just strictly transfer programs, but Daryl and I just came from a meeting with your group, Ed, of the counselors, talking about the kinds of things that we're doing in our division to address the completion agenda for CTE. What you're saying is true for all programs on this campus. All CTE programs have suffered from not having any kind of a system to track the students, from having 78 different certificates and 78 different classified staff members that students must find to get the certificate. So what you say is true, but it affects all of the CTE programs in performing arts and natural sciences and so on the campus. So I think we welcome having a CTE dean to help these students complete, because in my program, we've just identified probably 75 students who could complete a certificate next semester, and no way to get them into the classes that they need to do that, and no way to celebrate their success because they're not invited to graduation. And Cynthia Levo and I are talking about rectifying that. But the issue here is we are instructional divisions just like other instructional divisions, and are feeling that we are being treated differently in not having a division dean. Just because we have CTE programs within us, those need to be revitalized, as do all the CTE programs across the campus. So we fully support having a CTE dean and having someone consolidate that process to help these students complete and to help PCC say, yes, we can get people completed at this campus. I think that's a separate issue from having two major groups of faculty not being represented as instructional divisions.
Okay. I'm sorry, Chris. Thank you.
So I see us having kind of two needs here that we're trying to solve. One is the fact that CTE needs a revitalization, needs leadership, and one is the fact that both the business and E&T divisions have been lacking leadership as well. And I see that I mean, and it's possibly because cost effectiveness or whatever it may be, but it seems that we're trying to say that the solution to one, creating the CTE dean and the director of CTE and workforce development, will solve the issues on the other. And that's something that, to me, isn't something that I necessarily agree with. I don't think that just by not having deans, but by having those two positions to help in some aspects of the business and E&T divisions is going to be sufficient to really solve the issues that are going on in those divisions. While sitting as a member of the Planning and Priorities Committee, we heard a great amount of comment from both divisions saying that they wanted to remain separate and they needed leadership, and that's why we created the proposal that we had. And I personally felt that it was something that was needed, especially if this is an interim plan, and more plans will probably be made by the Planning and Priorities Committee next year. This is something that I think the most effective way would be the two divisions, both with deans. and perhaps the CTE dean, director of CTE and workforce development, if it's really just a matter of that we can't pay for both aspects, then that's what we really need to start analyzing.
Gary.
I want to agree with Alex, because one of my greatest concerns in which being part of the BRAC committee is the fiscal responsibility, what impact this has fiscally. But that's something we haven't even talked about yet. I mean, you know, yes, it is probably good to have deans and managers, but what impact we have. You know, we, like Dr. Rick shared many times, we looking at a $4 to $7 million cut next year. I mean, we got to consider these too. So I just want to bring that point.
Yeah, it's actually an $8 to $10 million cut.
Okay.
Roger. I'm sorry, Dave first, then Roger, pardon me.
My question is, this is an interim plan. If this passes, are these directors and the deans only going to be signed for 1 year?
Well, first of all, regardless of how this goes today, this is advisory. This is consultative to the president. This doesn't. There are no decisions made other than a statement by this group of their consideration of the item. So I don't think anybody should be confused, regardless of what the Academic Senate says or what the College Council says. It's a decision of the superintendent, president, and the board of trustees as to how we eventually do what we do in the interim, midterm, and long term, taking things under advisement. I think.
Martha, if you want to go.
Yeah, Martha, go ahead, please. Are you okay?
Well, it just occurs to me that so much of the planning of a possible future has to do with faculty cohorts. And why doesn't management take a leaf out of the book of the faculty cohort process and develop a dean of CTE, a CTE dean for the CEC and the programs there, as well as the dean for business and the dean for ENT that would work as a cohort. So instead of hiring a director position, each of these would work as a cohort in coordinating the kind of information that needs to be generated for workforce development. In other words, managers begin to work as cohorts as well.
Yeah, it's a reasonable idea, and it's again probably part of what was under partial consideration this year and will continue next year, in terms of where we finally end up with in what structure and what best fits in our reality right now. I think Roger now.
You know, Coleman, you haven't spoken. Why don't you speak?
I've heard two very clear sets of problems defined, which I agree with. There's the CTE issue that we need leadership there, but we've also described the need for leadership in ENT and business. Now, if we go to the model that is, which one? It's the green one that we're proposed. If we go to the green one and then we vote to pass this, I think we're going to perhaps be able to solve the CTE issue and provide the necessary leadership. But as I see it, we still have the problem with leadership in ENT and business. That problem is not being solved. That's the problem.
I disagree. I think it will be help for the short term, and I think it gets us through next year, and it helps with our budget situation. And I think it gives Dr. Bell more people to work with. I mean, I just respectfully disagree with that, but that's okay. Roger. Yes, please.
I appreciate a very good discussion, and I especially appreciate the faculty from ENT and business here sharing their thoughts. And just your thought, Gary, yes, the fiscal issues are always of importance, and yet when we in the FA participated informally, really, with the transition of both ENT and business, in which their former deans were no longer in the positions, we were very concerned, and we spoke about this, that we didn't want chairs or directors or whatever the new title would be, that these individuals, and I think two of them are right here, take on dean-like responsibilities and dean-like services, and yet not get paid that way. We were very concerned we would have overworked faculty effectively doing the dean's jobs. And back in the discussion of where there was some thought about chairs, the word we were getting is chairs would be weaker and cheaper. And that was the mantra that we were hearing, and we were very nervous about that. And so this discussion has gone on for a year. It's been a very rich discussion, I think, very collegial discussion from so many different channels, and that's very positive. But several things. One is, I always quote Edward, faculty discipline-driven decisions are usually the best. And I'm hearing loud and clear, and when I look at business, I see a division, it should have a dean. When I see E&T, it looks like a division to me, it should have a dean. Or it's some kind of stepchild, it's some kind of neither fish nor fowl, and that's a problem. And I think that we have scores of faculty who deserve a dean if that's what they want. I will say the third column, I'm a little confused. I put the motion out mostly for expediency because that might be the cost savings. I see Bob Bell doing 4 jobs or more, and I thought, couldn't a CTE dean also be the director? Combine those two, we save one management salary. But I do think that effectively, if we don't have a dean in business or E&T, we're exploiting faculty who effectively do all this extra work for much less than a dean would get. And as an FA person, I would be opposed to that.
Not to mention the secretary.
Not to mention the secretaries.
Okay, so as I recall, we have a motion on the floor. And I believe, well, Roger, can you restate your motion, please?
It's a 3-part motion. First, that the business division would be moved to the first column and have a permanent dean. Second, that the E&T division be moved to the first column and have a permanent dean. Third, for the third column, the CTE dean position would be combined with the director of CTE and workforce development to make one position.
Okay, Dave, is that so your second? Simon, I think you want to.
Yeah. We don't have a CTE dean currently on the payroll, correct?
That's correct.
So we are not actually expending a salary for a CTE dean?
That is correct.
And this director of CTE and workforce development is a new position, so we are not currently expending a salary for that position, correct?
That is correct.
Have we identified that there is an absolute urgent need to fill the CTE dean position for an interim year?
Yes.
So it's absolutely essential that we fill that one for a year?
I'll let Dr. Bell speak to that.
I will say again what I said before. I think it is essential. I think it's absolutely essential for many of the comments we've heard from faculty. I know from the perspective, larger perspective of workforce development and some of the expectations that the business community has of PCC, which we very ardently were able to do in the past, we just aren't able to do now. So I see some real urgency there.
And if we were to not fill the CTE dean position and not create the director of CTE and workforce development division and fill dean positions for business and E&T, what would that do fiscally to the plan?
Actually, the CTE dean and the director of CTE would be less expensive to some degree because the director is a lower level position, so it would be less expensive. However, I think the issue here is if you look at management positions to serve CTE programs, there is an urgent need at this college to look at CTE across the board from a program review perspective, from an institutional effectiveness perspective, from the delivery of certificates perspective, from a jobs development perspective. We have data upon data upon data that speaks to this urgent need. These two positions are more global in context and purpose than perhaps the business dean and the E&T dean. No one is debating, I'm certainly not, that there isn't a need for all of these positions. It's just a question of what is a more urgent need given our current budgetary reality. That's what this represents.
Then my final comment will simply be that I remain wary about creating a new position as part of an interim plan. I don't think it feels very interim.
Okay. And actually, in that context, it wouldn't be, frankly.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the CTE dean and the workforce development director would be permanent positions, not interim.
That is absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct.
But is it also correct to say that basically the choice is between funding these two, the dean and director positions, or the two dean positions?
That might be one way of looking at it. Yes, Dr. Bell, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I'm almost sorry I brought up the whole notion of budget and costs.
Right.
Because I think it's taken us down a path of discussion where we're choosing one or the other based upon dollars. And that was not my intent for bringing that up. My intent for bringing it up was to underscore what Gary just said. We are looking at a significant budget deficit for the 2012-2013 fiscal year and academic year. And I think we have to be cognizant of the cost of that. And again, as someone who's only been at the institution a relatively short time, one of the things that I was introduced to early in my tenure here was a desire to reduce management at the institution. So we lower the cost of administration. And I think we need to be cognizant of that when we talk about bringing on new deans. Now, talking on the other side of my face, which I've been known to do before, I need to underscore what I've heard from Shelley, from Daryl, from Coleman, from Ann, and I'll say what I said before. I am their deans now. I am their interim dean now. And I can tell you without question, both those divisions need leadership. Absolutely critically need leadership. And if I may take a moment, I want to give particular a shout, if you will, to the work that Daryl and Coleman have done representing those two divisions, because I think they've done an outstanding job the past 6 months that they've worked with me. So there's no question that they need leadership. And so I don't want it to be assumed that I'm saying that I don't recognize the value and the benefit and the importance of deans for those two divisions. But, you know, the physical side of my being says we have to be cognizant of that.
Okay, I'm going to go Coleman and then Dave.
I'm raising my hand because my colleague, Ann.
So, Ann, would you like to speak to the group?
But, well, I think that Ann can say that, well, wait, let me get up.
Just get up and talk.
Okay. But the fiscal impact of getting people like Daryl and myself compared to a dean, it is significantly different perhaps. I guess really but there is an impact, right?
Well, it's release time assignments.
You're the one who knows.
Well, I just don't understand why our divisions have to be the sacrificial lamb in this whole situation. I mean, we're giving up, just because we happen to be in a situation where our dean's, quote, retired. We're kind of being in a position now where we haven't had anybody in the last year. And as I said before, it's a hardship, and I've enjoyed working with Dr. Bell, but it's a hardship for him as well. It's been a lot of work for Daryl and Coleman too, as for myself as well. But I don't understand why it's just because we're in this position, we should be considered that we have to be the sacrificial lamb to give up our duties. And not that I don't think these other positions are important, I think they are. The CTE dean especially, because it is kind of a place where we can go to, for our certificates, which are extremely important in our division. And but I don't know where the money would come from. But I hate to think that the reason why this decision would be made is for monetary reasons primarily, and that we're just being left out of the loop. We are instructional divisions. Sorry.
Coleman?
Yeah, just really brief. But one of the greatest challenges that I've faced is the fact that I'm really not a manager and I'm just a peer. And so when you try to rally the troops to get them to do something, it's really hard because some of these people, and like you said, Bob, at the CNI meeting, you looked at me and said, it's like rounding up kittens. Sometimes it is just that, and it's really difficult when people really would rather be in the classroom or whatever they want to do. And so there are just some tremendous challenges. And the job that I've been doing this semester is completely different than the one I thought I was going to be doing as well. I'm solving more problems. I'm, having faculty disappear for one reason or another, but, and then having to replace them and to take care of students' needs. But it's really been more student services almost and faculty needs that I've had to address. And it just would be a lot more helpful, I think, for and I know that you do probably agree with this, but if we did have, if there was a dean, it would help in that process tremendously.
Yeah, Jerry Darrell, please.
Bouncing off you, Dr. Bell, when you speak of the CT, the importance of the CT and the connected business, I don't see how reducing the business division when you're saying the priority of business is to connect with the community, but yet you take the deanship away from that division. And as I sit here reflecting, as Coleman said, and I think also Ann, our divisions have been kind of bouncing around for a while. And I know I've been busting, and Gary's been busting. Coleman, the guy over there. We've been putting our effort to try to do the best we can. You're saying that leadership, but people still come to us and ask us things, and I'm not the dean, but they look at me like I'm one. I'm like, yeah, they say, well, just still help me out. Will you solve my problem for a bit? I'm not the dean. I don't care who you are, just solve my problem. So they're looking for that as problem solvers. And then when I reflect on going back to our division and saying, well, we're going to have directors and we're going to have to report in this position, I think, again, our division would be like, our whole group would be like, well, where are we at? What happened to us? As far as the morale and the enthusiasm of our group, we would be depressed a bit. As far as where are we sitting in this whole operation of PCC? That's the point I'd like to make.
I appreciate that. And I think that all these comments are extremely important and very helpful because it basically underscores the importance of leadership wherever the leadership comes from and the importance of supporting the faculty. One of the wonderful things about this time of year, you get to go to banquets, you get to go to award ceremonies, and you get to see the miracles that happen, and they happen because of our faculty. So our responsibility as administrators is to support these faculty as best we can in whatever the context. So I'm sure however this plays out, Dr. Bell has heard every word you've said. I certainly have heard it, and we'll continue to do the best thing that we can do. Alice.
Yes, excuse me. I know we're making a lot of sacrifices because of budget cuts and everything, but my question is, will we be able to open any classified positions to help out with, all the hard work also? Because I know a lot of classified employees have retired.
Yeah. I can't answer that question specifically, but I guess I would say that
that's a suggestion.
Right, but there's obviously a great deal of respect for our classified colleagues and the work that you do, because clearly we couldn't do what we do without you.
Thank you.
Ed?
Dave first.
Dave first, and then Ed.
Yeah, I'd like to call for the vote on the motion.
Yeah.
I have a tea to go.
Okay. Crystal.
Could we just clarify that motion
Yeah,
one
exactly.
more time?
Let's have one more shot at it.
Well, it's a three-part motion.
Are we voting on each part separately?
I'm open to that.
No,
I don't know if that's
divide the question.
Together or separately?
Let's. We just had a move to divide the question. Is that what I heard?
I'll second that.
Okay, so let's have the first part of that motion.
So the first part of the motion would be that the business division be moved to column 1 to have a permanent dean.
Okay, and do we have a second on that? And do we have any further?
The motion has already been seconded.
Yeah,
Okay, and no further discussion, correct? All right, but Dr. Bell.
Chair, no discussion, but I have a question. I am sitting here with all the confidence of the world, but I need to, am I a voting member?
No.
I am not a voting member.
I was just going to go over.
When I don't vote, it's not because I don't care.
I was just going to go over.
Yes, let me be clear about that.
I was just going to go over who the voting members are, just to remind everybody. And the voting members for the Academic Senate are Edward Martinez, Pinella is sitting in for Dustin Hanvey, and Dan Haley is not here. Martha's sitting in for Dan. Thank you. Classified Senate, the voting members are Gary, Deborah, and Julio. All three are present. Management Association, the voting members are Crystal, Al Hutchins, and Dale. And I thought I saw Al, but Al's not here, right? And then for the students, the voting members are Alex, Simon, and Monshane, and I'm assuming Chris is sitting in for Alex today. And then for CSEA 777 is Dave Kraus. POA, James Karch is not here. Faculty Association, Roger's here, and Confidentials is Joe Ellen. So those are the voting members of the committee. So, having said that, we have a motion on the floor to, I believe, to move the business division over into
Continue with
deans and divisions. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he did specify with a permanent dean.
Continue.
Column one.
Okay, column one. All right, so all those in favor signify by raising your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 in favor. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3. Okay, that motion carries. The next motion, I would assume, would be to move the E&T division over into column 1.
Correct.
Correct? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Or by raising your hand, I'm sorry.
Raise hand.
So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All those opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. And then, Roger, would you restate the third part of that motion, please?
Third part of the motion would be to consolidate the CTE dean position with the director of CTA workforce development to have one position instead of two.
Okay. All those in favor signify by raising your hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All those opposed?
Abstention.
And please raise your hands if you're abstaining, please. And 3 abstentions. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So that takes us to, there's a couple more columns here to talk about, at least. Well, actually, we need a motion on column 1, do we not? Now, as amended.
We could always just make a.
If I could just make a comment on the proposal, I'm actually really uncomfortable on voting on a lot of this because we're only just seeing a lot of this. Planning on priorities spent countless times on this, and then suddenly we've got the academic senate version and this new college council version. If I had my way, this would frankly go back to planning and priorities. And I think that's really where this discussion should have been happening, is back at planning and priorities.
I think I hear what you're saying, but there are lots of veteran people in this room who have either been on various committees or also been a part of discussions in the hallways and in offices. And I think here we are, approaching June, we have a pretty good sense of the implications of these discussions. So I'm going to respectfully disagree. I think actually this is a very informed body, and we're taking into account all the other deliberations, and I think it's a very credible vote. So I just think it's very good. This committee is very sound, and I really appreciate the faculty who came and helped clarify certain issues. Thank you.
David.
Yeah, I do want to make sure that we, for column 1, that it does says continue with permanent deans and divisions, not just continue with deans. I believe that was one of your motions.
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have a motion on column 1? If we're going to,
I'll move to.
The question is, are we going to continue to work our way through this by column, or is there another way that the body would like to deal with this, or would the body not like to deal further with this? Edward.
Well, just on column 1, it says continue with deans and divisions. The truth is that many of those divisions have permanent deans. Some of them have interim deans, and then we'll see what happens with business and E&T. So it's a mixed bag, to be honest, and I would say that that's where we are and probably where we should be at the present time.
Okay, so in other words, we don't want the interim dean to be permanent?
It's simply this is a recognition for 1 year. This is the interim plan, and I say we simply recognize that those divisions are where they are.
Okay, so, Daryl, yes.
When I look at this approved, it says continue with permanent deans, and you have math and dance. So is that a permanent or interim?
That was approved by the Academic Senate.
Right. Those are approved with the understanding that those will eventually be permanent deans, okay? But on this green form that we're looking at, I'm simply saying that we need to recognize that the divisions are in various states with their deans. Just some are indeed ongoing permanent, some of them are interim, and we'll see what happens with business and ENT.
Right. So again, I just remind everybody that this is, College Council is a consultative body. We are consulting. We will be sending forth what we are recommending, and however all of this shakes out, and in what capacity these positions are appointed, named, or what have you, is subject to further discussion at levels above us. Simon,
I'm
thank
going to
you.
move to approve column 1 of the College Council proposal with the amendments we just made as stated.
Okay, so column 1, adding business and ENT to that list.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moonshine is seconding. Further discussion, or any discussion, I should say? All those in favor signify by raising your hand on your way out, Simon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. All those opposed? 1, 2. Abstentions? Okay, you can give me votes, right? Okay, so that's columns 1, 2, and 3. What could, yes?
I'm going to move to approve the 5th column, realign departments and divisions as stated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I do have a quick question.
Certainly.
I believe Alice is a voting member, is that not correct?
That is correct.
You didn't call her name.
Oh, I thought I did. I apologize. So do we need to go back and revise the votes? I'm sorry.
I didn't get a chance to vote.
Okay, then we're going to have to do this over again.
Wait, so I'm sorry, are we going to go back and do every vote again?
I guess we are going to. Unless you want to just cast your vote right now and tell us.
That's 3.
So, for 4 votes.
Would it make a change?
No, probably.
No, but I think we should record Alice's vote if Alice wishes to make the vote.
Okay.
Well, which ones are we voting?
Okay, well, let's just talk about moving the business division into the continue with deans and divisions. So column 2 into column 1 for business.
All eyes upon you.
I think that was the majority vote.
Yes, it was.
Then I vote yes.
Okay, so we'll add 1 to the ayes for that. What about E and T into that same column?
Also, I think the majority vote that everyone is what I was voting for.
Okay, so we'll just add you to the majority vote for all of the votes. Very good.
I was keeping tabs, you know.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so that's approved.
Chair apologizes for that oversight. Okay, now I think we're back to column 5. And on column 5, did we have a second for that? Oh, yeah, Roger seconded.
Is that on the realignment?
Yes.
Number 5.
Realign departments and division according to what those 4 elements are in that line. All those in favor, raise your hand. Yes, Crystal.
For kinesiology, health, and athletics, are we actually moving athletics over to natural sciences or just kinesiology and health?
This is stating kinesiology, health, and athletics at the moment, the whole division. Dr. Bell, did you want to say anything to that?
Well, I would recommend that it's kinesiology and health, not athletics. The configuration of indicated athletics, in my opinion, should not be aligned under natural services. That should stay aligned under either instruction or student services, but not under natural science.
All right. Was that an amendment, Crystal?
I'd like to make an amendment that athletics be separated out from kinesiology and health.
All right, the second, Roger, you made the second.
Yes?
Are you willing to do that? Basically, what
I need information because I don't really understand. I'm not disagreeing at all because it does sound like kinesiology is appropriately going to natural sciences, but I agree, I don't know anything about athletics. So.
I think the best way would be if there was a second to the amendment, and then we went on to discussion on the amendment.
All right, do we have a second on the amendment? Second. Thank you. Now,
would someone like to tell me what we're voting on, please?
Whether or not
the amendment is to remove athletics from the kinesiology, health, and athletics.
And put it where?
That has not been stated.
Yeah, we don't know.
Crystal.
I believe maybe I can help here. What initially is we're voting on column 5, and I posed the question of, it says KHA, which would say kinesiology, health, and athletics would be moving to natural sciences, and the question I posed in the amendment I made is to separate out the athletics and just move kinesiology and health to natural sciences and let athletics stay with their director.
Now I got it.
Daryl.
Where would the athletics stand in this structure?
What Crystal just said is that it would remain reporting to the athletic director, which currently reports to Dr. Bell.
Athletics currently in the organizational chart reports to the Vice President of Student Learning and Services. Athletics would continue to report to the Vice President of Student and Learning Services. The reason it appears here is because it was caught up in the entire discussion of kinesiology, health, and athletics. That's all one division. Athletics really does not represent itself as an instructional division. Kinesiology and health really are. So I would support that.
Athletics would not fall on this green sheet. It reports to the Vice President of Student and Learning Services, one of the many hats that Dr. Bell wears.
Athletics would be configured the same way as enrollment services. It would be a service capacity that would report to the Vice President of Student and Learning Services.
Okay, so we have an amendment on the floor. Simon, you have further discussion?
Yeah, when we heard planning and priorities, and you were there, maybe you can help me. We heard from someone from KHA. Were they part of the K, the H, or the A?
All of it.
All of them. Well, we're moving, you're asking what we're moving?
I'm asking,
No. He's
there was
asking
someone who came to public comment on the blue, and he was from one of those three or all of them, and his comments I would like to base on that.
Ed and then Gary.
Well, that was Gary Wood, the athletic director, and I'm sorry?
John Wood.
John Wood, sorry, the athletic director. But I think it's important to think of athletics as the sports programs, the intercollegiate sports programs. At the present time, they're managed in KHA, but as Crystal has indicated, it's only the kinesiology faculty and the physical education activity course, physical education theory courses and health education courses that would be moving into natural sciences.
In that case, I'm not opposed to the idea of it at all. I think it makes sense. However, everything else that we have done so far has gone through an extensive public comment period, and all through this period, we've been talking about KHA. We haven't talked about KNH and then A separately. And so since we've given so much consideration and opportunity, especially we've heard from two divisions, if we were now to split up a third one in the college council without anyone else hearing anything about it, I think that we've set a huge double standard and a precedent that I don't want to set.
Okay, so we have an amendment. Martha wants to say one more thing.
Okay, just one more thing, and that's I would really appreciate to hear, I would like to hear from faculty in that area, because in some cases, these classes that are theoretical may have an activity component as a part of it. But I'd like to hear from the faculty in those areas to.
But just to let you know, it's the physical education theory classes that are moving, not the PE activity classes.
No, I understand that, but I understand that you can also, holistically teaching, you could also construct a course that has both theory and activity as it stands right now. But if we separate it, we go into some of the muddier waters that we were talking about in the Senate with the separation of CIS versus CS and teaching across and how that would work.
Okay, well certainly you can separate course content in that way, that's
Right.
true. But remember, the activity part here is
I
basically the
understand that
sports
part,
activity
but
classes.
I would really like to hear from faculty in that area in order to get clarity about that kind of separation.
Okay, Gary, one more comment, and then we'll vote on the amendment. I
Just
think.
as a reminder, we had not only A.D. Woods, but we also had Joe Perrone, we had Rudy, I think his last name is Aguilar. And they both clearly stated that if they had to move, their quote-unquote cousin division was natural science, and that they are in line with taking athletics solely under Bob Bell.
Right. So it seems like no matter who we heard from, they were content and happy with the notion of KH and A moving over to natural sciences. Okay. So with that said, we have the amendment on the floor, which is basically to remove athletics from kinesiology and health, and agree that that should continue to report directly to student services.
I'm sorry, one other, just a
Yes.
quick question. Currently, is not KHA an instruction division?
Yes, it is.
So currently it's an instruction division, even though athletics reports to student learning services. How is it that if it moves into a different instruction division, it can no longer continue to report to student learning services the way it does currently?
No one said it couldn't.
Okay.
No one said that if this whole thing goes as a package, that
It won't
Dr.
continue
Bell
to-
and exactly.
Okay, in that case, I don't see.
Okay. Okay, so let's vote on the amendment, please. All those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is going to be close. All those opposed to the amendment, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the amendment, 5. And then how many abstentions? And 2 abstentions.
Abstentions.
1, 2, 3, 4 abstentions. So the amendment, 5 abstentions. So the motion passes. Okay. So now we'll make a notation that athletics would be pulled from this, period.
Wait. How does it pass?
The vote was
6 to 4.
6 to 4 in favor.
Oh, you had to vote no in order to.
Yes.
Okay, so that then leaves the remainder of column 5 to vote on, correct?
Yes.
So all those in favor of the...
I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry. What did we lose here?
I would actually like to divide the question and take each one individually again, since we've now made a, in my view, substantial change.
Okay, so that's a request to divide the question. We have no choice but to do so. So we'll do that. Before we do that, I think Coleman would like to say something to us.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's been a request that I just restate. So vote on architecture, then fashion, then computer science, then KH.
Individually.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. My name is Coleman Griffith, and I am the coordinator of the architecture program. And I would like to ask that the architecture program remain with ENT for the interim period, the 1-year interim period. As I've said in the past, architecture, I'm one of 2 faculty members, but I would like to say that I cannot see the advantage to us moving at this time until there is a greater understanding of what is happening in the college as a whole. And I would greatly appreciate that consideration.
Okay, so we are going to divide the question, starting with the item that Coleman just spoke to, which is the realignment of the architecture discipline to the division of VAMS, Visual Arts and Media Studies. All those in favor signify by raising your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 in favor. All those opposed? 1.
What was the question?
Yeah, because it wasn't clear.
Well, okay, I thought it was clear, but I'll try it again. The question was, we are voting for the relocation of architecture to VAMS, which is what it stated right there.
But was
Coleman
it,
doesn't want it.
was it after the interim year, or like after a year, or was that?
It's
just
as
it
it stands right now. So do I need to revote?
Yes.
All those in favor of relocating architecture to VAMS, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Julio, did you, I didn't see your hand. Julio, okay. 9 yes. All those opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The motion passed.
Could I say something? I want to thank Coleman for his comments, for sharing, and I am struck by how many people on this council just heard one of 2 tenured architecture professors on the campus speak against the motion and then vote against him. I find that interesting. Thank you, Coleman, for your sharing.
And I didn't get to ask for abstentions. Did anybody abstain on that vote? No abstentions.
If I may, I'd like to respond to that. Architecture, we talked about this a lot in planning and priorities, and I voted for the status quo of planning and priorities because we had a very long discussion as part of that committee. And while we greatly respected what you said, I can't remember the entirety of the substance of the discussion because it was a few weeks ago now, but there was compelling reasons to make that vote, and it wasn't, we had considered the testimony, so I voted because of planning and priorities.
Share with me the compelling reasons.
We talked about them during the planning and priorities meeting, and for the life of me, my mind is blank, but I do remember voting for what is status quo, which is what the interim plan approved after a 2-hour discussion.
All right, may I move to the next question before us? Next question before us is the moving of the fashion discipline to visual arts and media studies. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 in favor. All those opposed? And all those abstaining? 1 abstention. Joellen, I'm sorry, what?
I was a yay, but I was late.
Okay. So do we get the right count? All right, so let's do it again. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 in favor. All those opposed, please raise your hand. No one opposed. All those abstaining, please raise your hand. 1. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to computer science to math. All those in favor of computer science relocating to the math division, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 in favor. 13. All those opposed? All abstentions. And 2 abstentions. 13 yes, no no's, or 0 no's, and 2 abstentions. Okay, and I believe we already took the vote on, no, we didn't take the vote. Did we take the vote on kinesiology and health?
No, you have to do it now separately.
Okay, so all those in favor of kinesiology and health, those 2 disciplines, moving to natural sciences, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All those opposed, please raise your hand. 1. And abstentions. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I believe column 4 remains, the CEC column. Would anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve column 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Pinella seconds. Discussion.
Yes. Can we amend our vote for architecture and vans? Because, you know, there still may be compelling reasons why they should move together, and that was part of the
Martha,
planning.
I'm sorry, but we're dealing with the motion of CEC, and then after we're done with that, we can come back to your question, unless it pertains. CEC, Community Education Center, is what CEC stands for, right? Okay.
Point of information?
Yes, Roger.
Okay, as I look at the blue sheet, I see full dean got a 6 yes, 4 no, 5 abstentions, very close. So then I look at the red, and it says dean reporting to VP of Ed Services. I don't see that on green. I say CEC reporting to VP of Ed Services. Shouldn't it say dean?
It can say what the group wants it to say.
I would move to approve column 4 with the addition of dean.
Second.
So that's an amendment.
I was just going to say that's an amendment. We already had a motion. So, so the motion is now, okay, so we need to vote on the amendment. The amendment request is to add the word dean reporting to VP of Ed Services until 6/30/13, then reporting to VPI. Is that correct amendment? Yes. All right. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All those opposed to the amendment, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3. All those abstaining, 1 abstention. So now we have an amendment, but we need a motion on the column as amended.
It's already been.
Has it been moved?
Yeah.
Okay, so the column has been moved and as amended. Further discussion? Chris?
Yeah, not that I'm opposed to it, but I'm just actually curious as to the addition from the Academic Senate as to why it's the VP of Ed Services for a year or so and then VP Instruction.
That reflects the thinking of the CEC faculty who were there at the Academic Senate meeting. CEC has traditionally reported to the VP of Instruction. In light, however, of Dr. Bell's heavy workload, we recommended that he get a break for a year from CEC, and that it would go back to his purview after June the 30th, 2013.
And if I could add, this is a good compromise given the discussion that came out of planning and priorities, which was I voted against it going to Ed Services. I think this is a good compromise position.
Okay, further discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor of the motion as amended, raise your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 in favor. All those opposed? 1, 2, abstentions? 1 abstention. All right, I believe that takes us through this. Simon?
I think Martha wanted to do something.
I'm sorry. Oh, Martha, that's right, on the vans. Excuse me.
Yeah, and then I have to run up to the T real quick. I wanted to try to talk about amending the motion for architecture to VAMS. It still would be in keeping with the discussion and vote from planning and priorities to say that architecture wouldn't move to VANS for this next year and wait for this next year.
I'm going to turn to my Brown Act expert, Simon, and ask, is this something that we can do?
Yes, we can decide to reconsider a vote. What it requires is a motion to reconsider, and someone who is on the prevailing side of the original motion needs to make it. So one of the people that voted yes on architecture to VAMS would need to move to reconsider it, and that would need to be seconded and voted upon in order for us to reopen discussion and then a second vote.
Okay. So is someone... Martha, I don't want to get ahead of you, but is that what you're asking? Okay. So Martha is making the motion as someone who is on the prevailing side. Oh, no, she can't because she was on the opposite side.
I'm asking that somebody make the motion.
That's right.
Yes.
Given that I think discussion's great, I'll make the motion.
Okay, so Simon is making the motion. Is there a second? Dave, did you vote in favor of the original motion? Okay. So there's a motion on the table to reconsider. And is there discussion among the council members?
We can't discuss that motion.
We cannot, okay, no discussion. All right, so with that in mind, no, I'm sorry.
To reopen the discussion and vote on architecture demands.
Oh, I see.
Following the Brown Act, parliamentary
technically
procedures,
Robert's
it's parliamentary
rules, but
procedures,
yeah.
Robert rules, right? Parliamentary procedures. So the motion is to reopen. All those in favor of reopening, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All those opposed, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Abstentions. All right, so the motion has been approved to reopen the discussion or to reconsider the motion of architecture to VAMS. That's what we approved. So, Deborah.
And maybe I can, is it possible to make a motion at this point, or are we just in discussion mode?
I think it's possible to make a motion at this point.
We are already in a motion.
There is a motion.
So effectively what happened is we took the original motion, which we voted on and said dispensed with, and now we've brought it back to the table.
So in other words, the original motion is now back on the table for discussion since we dispensed with the vote. That's what I hear is happening.
So I can't make a motion to
Amend.
leave architecture in its current division for the interim year?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
That would
okay.
be an amendment.
So I'd like to make a motion to
amend the
leave architecture in its ENT division for the interim year that we're discussing here.
There's a motion on the floor to...
Second.
And a second. Further discussion? Gary?
I'm kind of puzzled here because I was part of the Planning and Priorities Committee, and when we had a lot of people, and I appreciate all the emails and phone calls that I received to try to at least help me make a valued decision. And I look at this, and we voted 9-3 to keep it into VAMS. Then I look at here, we voted, Academic Senate voted, and I'm like Ed, I can't see it, but I believe it says 17-1 to keep it in VAMS.
That's correct.
And then yet.
To move it.
Seven.
To move it to VAMS.
To move it to VAMS.
And yet I hear an argument today, probably for the first time, that they don't want to go to VAMS. And so I don't know.
Well, I think it's, I'll let Ed speak and then Simon.
Well, we did indeed have this discussion in the Academic Senate. And I understand the pros and cons, but what we heard at that time from at least the architecture faculty member who was there, that she was in support of the move. Mm-hmm. There was a vote taken by the Academic Senate, as you can see, 17-1, 1 abstention. And so that reflects the Senate vote.
Simon.
Planning and priorities, we actually heard from you, Coleman, on this matter, and you were in firm opposition. And I believe it came down to where we felt the sort of the architect discipline fell, and it seemed to fall more neatly with the visual arts and media studies rather than the ENT division. And that was how we based our decision on it, and it sounds like there is division among the two. And so I'm comfortable sitting with what planning and priorities decided, since this is where a lot of the bulk of this happened. That's why I'm sitting.
Deborah, then Crystal.
That I don't think Coleman was saying that they didn't want to move to VAMS ever. I think what Coleman was saying, that considering there's so much going on campus-wide right now, that they want to stay for the interim year where they are, to not create more upheaval and more questions and problems, that in the future, if I'm understanding Coleman right, it's okay to go to VAMS, and that may be a better fit, but it doesn't make sense to the faculty currently to do it in an interim plan and confuse things more, just to kind of sit tight. They don't have a dean, and that it would be very disruptive to their program is what I'm hearing.
Thank you. Crystal.
I'm actually going to have to go with Simon on this, that there was very clear evidence that moving architecture to VAMS was academically sound based on their curriculum as a transfer program. Most things in E&T are CTE programs. It made a lot, and Fashion also said that they wanted to be wherever architecture was. We already moved Fashion to VAMS. We voted on that quite significantly to do that. And I think we felt all around that what VAMS had to offer architecture was far greater than what E&T had to offer architecture.
Okay. Coleman wants to speak.
I just want to say one more thing is that I think that when we discussed this, we were looking at this from the students. What were the students going to gain by this? And we felt that the alignment of the curriculum in VAMS was far better for students.
Thank you. All right, Coleman wants to speak. Is there any member of the council who wishes to speak before Coleman does? Dave?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Coleman, but are you speaking for yourself or for your teachers?
I'm speak for myself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I am speaking for myself, but I am also I'm thinking about it from a student perspective. I am thinking about the operations of the department when it moves. I'm thinking about how everything from settling in with new faculty, how that would work in an interim period of time, which could or could not be a good thing. I'm thinking about everything from budgetary issues, such as I have to organize each semester instructional aids for my classes, for all the sections in E&T. I have to deal with these things. How do those budgets fly over as well? I've got to also deal with, I have competitions and things like that that are occurring that involve budgets and things like that. All of that is structured currently in E&T. All of these operational components are there. Many of the activities that we do currently do actually interconnect with some of the areas that we work with now. We're talking about a new program with the building construction, as you know, Crystal. We're also working. I've just attended an advisory committee with engineering, proposing that they teach structures classes that would enable our students to transfer to Cal State San Luis Obispo and be able to, which would be quite remarkable. Also developing an environmental systems program with electricity under the current photovoltaic program. There are a lot of compelling reasons that, where there is, we're talking about just a year here. And so all I'm saying is that I'm not trying to say that it's not a good thing in the future. That's not what I'm saying, but I don't think in the short term that the disruption will be very good at all. I can tell you things will run normally in the fall if we're in E&T. I cannot tell you with the same certainty that things will run that way. And just from an operational perspective, I can't see why we're doing it. Change just to change. And that's it.
Thank you, Coleman. All right, I've got one more comment, and then we can call the question, I believe, if that's acceptable to the group.
I'm not sure if anyone has taken into consideration that I believe Mr. Coleman Griffith is the coordinator for E&T currently. When architecture moves, Coleman goes with it, and who's going to coordinate at that point the E&T program? That he's got 1 year's experience under his belt already. It's better than nothing. And I hate to see that whole area have to get another coordinator who has to start from scratch and figure everything out when it's just for a 1 year period. It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to, they're already without a dean, and then you're going to take their coordinator and move them to another area. I mean, to me, it just seems like that a lot of people are going to go through a lot of grief for 1 year, and it's not necessary.
Okay, I just make the quick comment that I don't think we can presume what decisions would be made in terms of how that division would function should that occur. I've got two more comments, it looks like, and then maybe we can get to the question. Let's start with Simon, and then we'll go to Chris.
One of the things that we've lost in this entire process is the idea of the horizontal outcomes facilitator, the horizontal planning person. Because one of the things that I heard there, and this isn't an argument to move or not move architecture, when these divisions, as a student, it's really concerning to me when I hear that there are divisions, or courses, I'm sorry, that go into divisions, and then suddenly they can't work with courses from other divisions. That worries me as a student, because I would want to think that no matter if my social sciences or my psychology class is part of social sciences, that I can't work with kinesiology and health on a program, or I can't work with anyone else on a program. And that was one of the things that we talked about at the very beginning of this process, was finding that horizontal pathway, coordination, removing the silos, and we've gone back to it. And I think that's disappointing, because everyone, we're not that big of a campus. I know it's a bit of a walk, but we can get across and sort of create these cross-discipline programs, and we don't have to be in the same division for that. There's not an argument on architecture itself right now. I just wanted to point that out because it was mentioned, and I feel it's important to mention as a student.
Thank you, Simon. Chris?
Just on the comment in regards to kind of stealing Coleman as the coordinator, I believe that since we are recommending to have a dean, if that recommendation goes through, we would no longer need the coordinator for that division. Is that correct?
Next year you would.
Yeah, I don't want to presume what's going to happen, but let's just say that I'm sure Dr. Bell and others can figure out a good way to deal with the division. Dr. Bell, do you want to comment about that at all? Or?
No, I don't.
Thank you. I didn't think so.
No,
Call the question.
I will take it all in advisement.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Call
all
the
right.
question.
I'm sorry, did somebody say call the question? Good. All right. All those in favor of moving architecture to the VAMS division, please rate. Is that not?
It's Deborah's motion.
After a year.
Deborah's. What was Deborah's amendment? Deborah's.
After a year.
To keep it for a year. To keep.
Okay. We have the amendment on this. Okay.
Yes,
so we have the amendment. Pardon me. All right. So the motion is all those in favor of leaving architecture in E&T
until 6/30/13.
Well, we don't have to do that. We basically, as part of this interim plan, for however long the interim plan lasts, 6 months, 6 years.
The motion was addressing the interim year, not moving them for the interim year.
Okay.
The motion did have the year date.
I believe that they want to move after the interim year. It's the interim year this clearly says interim plan, and it's that we're voting on now.
Her motion clearly said 6/30/13.
Okay, so all right, so the motion is to leave architecture in E&T through 6/30/2013. Does everybody agree with that? Okay. So all those in favor, Reese, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All those opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. The motion.
Actually, I'm sorry. I'm going to withdraw my and abstain.
Okay, so it's a tie, so that means that the chair breaks the tie. I am going to vote to move architecture to VAMS.
Well, that's the next motion.
So you vote against.
Oh, then I'm voting against this motion. All right. Okay, so I'm voting against this motion. Then, do we have a new motion?
I'm sorry, we're already in one.
Which one are we in now?
We're in that. We're back to
architecture. All right, we're back to the original motion because these were amendments.
Yes,
okay,
so we're back
thank
to
you.
architecture VAMS.
All right, so the original motion is, because we have to vote to reconsider, right? I mean, we're reconsidering the original motion, which is architecture to VAMS. All those in favor of moving architecture to VAMS, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those opposed to moving architecture to VAMS, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All those abstaining, please raise your hand. No abstentions. Okay, now I believe that concludes the business on this chart. And I appreciate Simon's and Chris's help on the parliamentary stuff. Thank you. All right, the hour is late, and I know several of us are supposed to be in additional meetings. Item 6, Standing Committee Reports, Planning and Priorities Standing Subcommittee. I think, Ed, most of what we were working on, we just dealt with the alignment. Is there anything else that you'd like to add on that?
No, I can tell you that Dustin is in discussion with, I think it's Team 2, the Planning Priorities Committee, about how to carry forth the long-term discussion for next year. I can simply tell you that that's under discussion, and stay tuned.
Right. Chris and then Simon.
Even though I may not be around, I know that the students would like to be included on that discussion. And as a member of Team 2, I haven't been included on it, at least. And so if just we could be in that discussion as well.
Right. Exactly. And what's recently happened is Valerie is volunteering to take the place of Matt Jordan. And this is like fresh off the press, I mean, within the last couple of days.
Valerie Foster, excuse
me. Biology instructor in natural sciences. So we'll obviously we will do that, Chris, for certain. Simon.
Yeah, I want to reiterate that the students, I think, need to be involved in this process. We have been for a year. I'm going to be here for another year.
Which by the way, we need to congratulate you, do we not? Do you want to announce?
Sure. I will be returning. Yeah, I will be returning as AS president next year. So you're not getting rid of me and my Brown Act that easily.
That's right. Congratulations.
Thank you. So. Yeah, so I just want to reiterate that we feel the absolute necessity to be involved in that process. This affects students very clearly because they need to know what their lines are. And if it does come down to academic senate believing that it has the sole purview without involvement from the other constituent groups, then I will have to challenge that, unfortunately. And finally, I'd also like to ask that planning and priorities, once again, go back to accreditation, and I'd like to see some sort of accreditation report come to planning and priorities for discussion to see where we are and how we're moving forward with that.
Very good. We're working out of that. The institutional research group right now is working on a report right now, so we'll be sharing with the whole college. So thank you. Okay, Ed, do you want to speak to the enrollment management briefly?
The enrollment management committee revised the enrollment management policy maybe about a month ago. That went toward the Academic Senate for discussion. Unfortunately, because of the realignment issue, we did not get to take a vote on that proposed change, the policy. We will be looking at it at our next meeting on June the 4th, and I hope that there will be a final vote at that time and that the revised policy can go forward to the Board of Trustees.
And it'll come here as a information item at the June 27th meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. I see Vice President Cable back there, and Vice President Van Pelt have been incredibly patient, and Vice President Bell. We're supposed to be in another meeting right now, but does anybody have anything they want to say to the group real quick? All right. Seeing no comments right now, Simon, with your permission, we'll go ahead and defer the Brown Act discussion to the next meeting.
Actually, I'd like to request that next meeting we actually bring it back as a discussion and action item so that we can discuss whether we or not we want to continue with the trial period.
We'll note that in the minutes and bring it back in that regard. Going around the table quickly, announcements. Julio, any announcements? Gary? Dave? No announcements? Okay. Edward, excuse me.
Let's see. Our next meeting is when?
June 27th.
Okay, so that's after the end-of-year Academic Senate breakfast, where we will be honoring retirees, same day as commencement. So I just want to let you know that event is going forward. Again, that's Friday, June the 15th. All folks are invited, although there is a charge of $20 for the full end-of-year traditional breakfast on that day. So again, we'll be honoring especially the faculty retirees, but we'll certainly acknowledge classified folks and even the managers. And so please, I hope to see you there.
Good. And if I could just make one announcement really briefly.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next meeting you'll be seeing two new faces, Monshane and Chris will not be here. They're both transferring on. So, where are you going?
Wish you well.
Yes, and on top of that, we sincerely appreciate the truly stellar work that both of these people have done on the committee work and in support of your students in the college, and it's sincerely appreciated.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, is there any further business to come before the council? I will now take Dave's motion.
I'll second.
To adjourn, and Chris will second, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Final second.
Finally got a second for a